What's up, fight fans? Welcome back to Sportskeeda MMA News. Jorge Masvidal pleads not guilty to felony charges in connection with his steakhouse sneak attack on Colby Covington. Khamzat Chimaev says he was inspired by the barn burner between Justin Gaethje and Michael Chandler. Aljamin Sterling blasts Henry Cejudo, and Jose Aldo makes a championship call-out. Michael Bisping and Eddie Hearn both destroyed Jake Paul, and Charles Oliveira is ready to trade heavy leather with Justin Gaethje. All this and more on today's edition of Sportskeeda MMA News. If you see any of your favorite fighters mentioned in today's video, make sure to blast that like button. Remember when Jorge Masvidal ambushed Colby Covington outside a steakhouse in Miami? Well, recently Masvidal pled not guilty to the felony charges in connection with the attack, which included aggravated assault with a mask and felony criminal mischief. Additionally, a stay-away order was placed on Jorge Masvidal, meaning that he cannot come within 25 feet of Covington, and according to Masvidal's attorney, Covington is afraid of Masvidal. But the story gets even crazier. During the incident, it was alleged that Covington's $90,000 Rolex watch was broken, which Masvidal's team plans to motion for inspection. And as a result of the sneak attack, it was reported that Covington suffered a chipped tooth, but now he's singing a different tune. The King of Miami apparently now has cited a brain injury as the consequence for the attack. This is a continuing journey from when Masvidal and Covington were teammates at MMA Gym American Top Team, eventually falling out due to allegations of Covington snubbing his head coach cuts of his fight purse, as customary with all MMA gyms. Covington defeated Masvidal at UFC 272 by unanimous decision, but the trash talk ahead of the fight prompted Masvidal to go after Covington outside the octagon, citing mention of his children and family. The 17-3 Covington is still the #1 contender, while the 35-16 Masvidal is suffering from a 3-fight skid, 2 of which were from pound-for-pound king Kamaru Usman. Where does Jorge Masvidal go from here? Leave a comment down below and you might be featured in tomorrow's video. The UFC's biggest star right now, Khamzat Chimaev, recently spoke about his willingness to get in a tough fight. Before storming into his fight of the night with Gilbert Burns, Chimaev could only dream that someone would challenge him in the octagon. Chimaev cited the recent mega clash between Justin Gaethje and Michael Chandler as a prime example of the type of fight he craves in the octagon. In an interview translated by Smash Bros, here's what Chimaev had to say. "Every time I fight, I hope that my opponent is gonna challenge me. I want to fight. People always say that my fights finish early, but I want to see myself in the later rounds, gassed out and covered in blood. Just like Gaethje versus Chandler fight. I wanted to get into a brawl after I saw those highlights, but you also gotta be smart and not risk your health. Both are elite wrestlers, but they didn't use it. I want to keep my health, and if I can take someone the easy way, I'd take it." Unfortunately, nothing about his fight with Gilbert Burns was easy, as he was dropped twice and suffered a deep cut under his eye. The 11-0 Chimaev is now the #3 ranked welterweight and has been rumored by Dana White to be fighting Colby Covington next. After back-to-back wins within 10 days, a brutal knockout over Gerald Meerschaert, and a swift submission of Li Jingliang, it was about time that Chimaev tested the UFC deep waters. Do you think Chimaev's brawl with Gilbert Burns has changed the way he approaches MMA? The UFC's bantamweight champion Aljamin Sterling is still unapologetically ruthless on Twitter after proving his haters wrong back at UFC 273. It all started when Cejudo replied to Sterling calling out TJ Dillashaw for saying his strength of schedule was much more difficult than Sterling's. Cejudo said this, "I hate it when my 2 kids argue over Twitter. You guys should form a tag team called Needle." Sterling fired back, "I would on you, bro." Then Cejudo asked Sterling, "So you didn't like my tag team name?" To which Aljamin put the hammer down. "Brother, if you're not gonna come back and fight, then please do the MMA world a service and STFU already. You're a father now. Grow up." Then, a longtime veteran of MMA, 2-time featherweight champion, and bantamweight contender Jose Aldo decided to chime in. The #3 ranked bantamweight is on a 3-fight win streak, including a dominant win over fellow contender Rob Font. Aldo made his call out on Twitter and even took shots at Cejudo and Dillashaw in the process. "Aljamin, I am waiting for you to sign the contract for our fight. There is no doubt that the fans want to watch this fight. We are currently the 2 best bantamweights in the UFC. Let the rest of the boys fighting each other and exchanging insults on the internet. In my opinion, it does not make sense to let a guy who got suspended for 2 years for cheating to come back and fight for the belt after winning a split decision in a fight I think he lost. The other one is a clown who faked his retirement just to try to raise his purse, as that did not work and he wants to fight for the title after spending 2 years out of the game and out of the USADA pool. After an illegal knee last year called Sterling's champ status into question, there is no doubt after his performance at UFC 273. The possibilities for the 21-3 Sterling now include former champions. But if the UFC president Dana White's opinion is any indication, we might see a trilogy fight with Jan above all else. What do you think? Do you think Jose Aldo's call-out makes sense for the division? Former UFC middleweight champion Michael Bisping just completely clowned Jake Paul on Twitter, but he wasn't the only one. Recently, a video surfaced of Jake Paul saying a few unsavory words about the Count, the man who had an unlikely run at UFC Gold by knocking former champ Luke Rockhold out cold.
I also think it's a silly call-out. Right. Like, that's an easy fight for me. It's still a one-round fight. He's an old guy, but here's the thing. Here's the thing about me, is if someone talks, I have to them up. See, I have a problem in my head. If someone talks, let's settle it in the ring. Let's see if you're really about that or if you're just talking on Twitter.
Bisping then replied on Twitter with this: "If I'm about that life, Jake Paul, I've been about that life for 20 years, you fool. You realize how stupid you sound calling me out? Please keep that same energy if we meet in person. P.S. Loved when Eddie Hearn said to your face that you'll never be world class. That had to hurt." Bisping is referring to the chairman of Matchroom Sport, Eddie Hearn, completely bringing Jake Paul to his knees during an interview.
I think there's absolutely no way he can beat a world champion and become world champion. But I will say he's improving a lot. He's dedicated to the sport. I don't know how good he is because he hasn't really faced a real fighter yet. It's not his fault. Usman does not qualify to give you any right to talk about you fighting for a world title. And nor does Tommy Fury, actually. But I'll give you the props, I'll give you the respect. You're improving all the time. But the proof will be in the pudding. I don't believe you will ever get close to being a world-class fighter.
The 5-0 pro boxer Jake Paul has highlight wins over 2 MMA world champions in Ben Askren and Tyron Woodley, both by knockout. He's been pining for another world champ in Bisping over the last couple of weeks, after a series of insults on Twitter about Bisping's one good eye and his age. What do you think? Does Bisping take the bait, or will Paul seek out another target for his return to boxing? While you're still here, subscribe to Sportskeeda MMA and hit that bell. And last but not least, the reigning lightweight champion Charles Oliveira has once again sounded off on Justin Gaethje ahead of their massive title fight at UFC 274. Oliveira has been routinely firing at Gaethje and making bold predictions on their upcoming title fight. No doubt in retaliation to Gaethje claiming that Oliveira has no heart in the fight game. MMA fans know just how powerful Justin Gaethje is, with a punch that could fold any lightweight. Oliveira is not deterred by Gaethje's legendary power and said he'd be comfortable wherever the fight went. "I'm going as Charles, MMA fighter. People who think, Charles is going to be desperate to take it to the ground, forget it. In all the times I've fought, I've never despaired of taking someone to the ground. I'm an MMA fighter. I'm a complete fighter. The fight will start standing. I'll exchange blows with the guy. When there's an opportunity to take it to the ground, I will try to take it to the ground. When there's an opportunity to stand on the grid and wrestle, I'll wrestle with them. I train wrestling too. I'm not a fool. I'm not." Wise words from the man who has earned a UFC record 18 finishes, 15 of those coming by way of submission, which is another UFC record. Many fans dared to count out Oliveira in his title fight against Dustin Poirier for the exact same reason as with Gaethje, his elite striking acumen, but Oliveira made him tap all the same. Now, on an astonishing 10-fight win streak, he aims to shock the world once more as he did when he knocked out Michael Chandler to win the belt. Maybe he takes a page out of Khabib Nurmagomedov's book. If Oliveira finishes Gaethje, does it make sense for him to fight Islam Makhachev next? That about does it for Sportskeeda MMA news. Here are some of the best comments from today. Bilal is afraid of burns. I'm kind of siding with Canelo. Fighting Usman will do nothing for his legacy. Must be annoying to even have to consider it. Maybe if the UFC and Dana White paid their fighters more, they wouldn't come off as so hungry for a large payday. If you like this video, please like, comment, and share. Your comment could be featured in the next Sportskeeda MMA news video. We always deliver daily content, so make sure you subscribe and hit that bell so you don't miss anything going on in the MMA world.